The quaint seaside city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, was founded in 1630 by Englishers. Throughout its 390 years of existence, Portsmouth has seen everything from the Revolutionary War to World War II, and most recently, to the opening of flatbreads. Portsmouth is a great place for window shopping, eating out, and just enjoying the scenery. The melding of old and new has given the city a unique feel, unlike any other place. Jonna Bushwhite and I, Megan Kazmarzik, set out on a journey to remind the world of one particular Portsmouth event, the Russo-Japanese Treaty, and the legacy in which it left in its wake. Like any good 21st century detectives, Jonna and I typed in the Russo-Japanese Treaty into Google. One of the first things to pop up in the search engine was the John Paul Jones House on Middle Street in Portsmouth. So, that weekend, we went to Portsmouth to investigate.
This colonial-age house sits on a patch of land with beautiful gardens. When we first walked inside, we were greeted by Jessica Kliske, an employee of one of the residential houses turned museums. We told her what we were looking for, and she directed us upstairs to an exhibit on the treaty. Every surface in this room was covered with posters explaining the Russo-Japanese War, the process of putting the treaty together, and of course, the treaty itself. After finishing looking through the exhibit, we went downstairs to talk more about the treaty with Jessica.
So we are sister cities with Manchuria, Japan, and when Japanese come to see the peace treaty, they really appreciate the fact that, you know, we hold this so dear and hold this space for them. So, and that's why they donated cherry trees. So we actually have those as monuments. They're planted out throughout Portsmouth.
After wrapping up our visit at the John Paul Jones House, we made our way to the Wentworth Hotel in Newcastle, New Hampshire. Our limited previous knowledge told us that this high-class country club hosted all of the treaty's delegates. Although there was not much information to be had on the treaty, the original hotel is still up and running. Jessica Kliske recommended that we interview Stephanie Secord, so we sent her an email asking when she could meet to help with our project. The next day, Stephanie responded to the email, and she was eager to help us. So once again, we drove to Portsmouth, but this time, the interview would be taking place at Strawberry Bank Museum, where Secord is the Director of Marketing Communications. For 45 minutes, Secord regaled us with every nook and cranny that's had to do with this topic. Her passion for the subject shined through as she spoke of the role Portsmouth played in keeping the peace.
Governor of New Hampshire, hearing about this potential peace treaty, hearing about this.
What was the Russo-Japanese War? The Russo-Japanese War started the winter of 1904 when Japan invaded land in China and Korea, which was occupied by the Russians. The war is referred to as World War II due to the fact that the battles themselves were fought on lands that were not actually part of either side. The use of new technologies, such as machine guns, barbed wire, telephones, telegrams, and bombs, helped to cement the World War II coinage. The war was bloody. At the Battle of Mukden in March of 1905, 560,000 casualties were reported. This was the greatest amount of deaths in a battle the world had yet to see. The imperialistic nature of both Russia and Japan was the reason for the war. Both wanted the same precious lands in Korea and China. Portsmouth was the obvious selection. There was a naval shipyard, fancy hotels, and the city sits on the water, where it is fairly cool. When word was officially given that the treaty would take place in Portsmouth, the naval shipyard had less than a week's notice to prepare. For 4 days and nights, men worked constantly to turn the upper levels of a storage building into a high-class negotiating room, suitable for a peace treaty. What legacy did the treaty leave behind? Not many people remember the treaty today. It has fallen by the wayside. What locals and tourists forget is that the history of a place shapes its future. The cherry blossom trees that line the National Mall in Washington, D.C. were a gift from Japan as a token of their appreciation. for the United States' help in settling the war. Something people remember about Teddy Roosevelt is that he was the first president to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. For what, you might ask? The Treaty of Portsmouth. Bigger than both these things, though, had nothing to do with the treaty itself. It was how the people of Portsmouth saw themselves as hosts and took on the challenge of making both sides feel welcome. Here's what Stephanie Secord has to say on this subject.
New Hampshire, hearing about this potential peace, said, why don't we have New Hampshire? The Executive Council and the interests who owned the Mount Washington Hotel, who were the railroad people, said it would be great for tourism if we have a big international peace conference here. So when the governor of New Hampshire said New Hampshire, Roosevelt said, well, how about Portsmouth? Because Portsmouth Naval Shipyard would be a secure place for the conference. The people of Portsmouth, it was Tuesday afternoon, people of Portsmouth came out to greet them. There was a parade through the center of town. When the formal negotiations broke down, there were 12 things they were talking about. They got through 10 of them. Roosevelt had asked each of them that when they got to a difficult issue, to skip over it and go on to the last two things. The two things were whether the Russians would pay the Japanese because they won all the battles, and who was going to control an island called Sakhalin at the northern part of Japan. The Tsar had told Witte, who was the senior Russian diplomat, to just come on. People of Portsmouth, ordinary people, had church picnics and concerts in the park and dinner parties, everything they could think of to keep the Russians and the Japanese. Talk about it being a symbol of citizen diplomacy, because that 10 days was an extraordinary example of how ordinary people can affect world events, critical things, World War II. So when Roosevelt got the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906, I like to think that the people of Portsmouth kind of got the Nobel Peace Prize.
The treaty should be remembered for what it has done for the world. It stopped a war, thrust America into the limelight, and brought a small New England city together. The treaty is remembered every year by Treaty Day. This New Hampshire holiday commemorates the end to the treaty on September 5th. The legacy of this event will live on for as long as Portsmouth is around. No matter who you are or what you strive to do, you can make a difference. Just cite this treaty and the people of Portsmouth.